Murphy's Boxing coming to you from Guilford, New Hampshire, the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion, and it's now time for our main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing in the junior middleweight division for the IBA junior middleweight title and WBA NABA junior middleweight title. It's Mark Bazooka Deluca taking on Walter Two Guns Wright. Walter Wright wearing the black trunks, Deluca wearing the white trunks. Mark Deluca enters this fight with a record of 21-0, 13 of his 21 wins by way of KO. Walter Wright entering this fight with a record of 16 wins and 4 losses. Deluca, an up-and-coming prospect in the junior middleweight division, hailing from Whitman, Massachusetts. Walter Wright is a guy who has had some bouts of inactivity. He has been with the better opposition of the two, but has had some layoffs, as I mentioned, probably best known for his stint on Season 2 of The Contender on ESPN. We last saw Mark Deluca a few months back at Marina Bay in Quincy with a hard-fought win on ESPN Friday Night Fights. Excuse me, it was actually Golden Boy Boxing on ESPN. Nice left hand from Deluca out of the southpaw position, knocks Wright backwards. Walter Wright from Seattle, Washington. Deluca from Whitman, Mass, as I mentioned. The last time we saw Walter Wright in New England, it was against another alumni from the Contender Series, that being Season 1 runner-up Peter Manfredo Jr. from Providence, Rhode Island. Closing seconds of round one. This one's scheduled. Round two of the scheduled 12-rounder, WBA NABA belt at stake, as well as the IBA junior middleweight title. What do those titles mean? Well, the IBA title it's a title. The WBA NABA belt usually gets you ranked within the confines of the WBA, which is one of the well-respected, well-recognized Major 4 world championships in boxing. Murphy's Boxing looking to get Mark Deluca a crack at one of those belts. Their first fighter to get a crack at one of the Major 4 world championships will be Danny O'Connor in just a few weeks as he fights for the WBC Junior Welterweight Championship on ESPN. Round one I gave to Mark Deluca. I thought he found his range with that left hand where he knocked Walter Wright backwards. It'll be interesting to see if Walter Wright can find his rhythm here in round two. This crowd here in Guilford, New Hampshire is minutes removed from being in an absolute frenzy as Irish punk band Flogging Molly performed right before this fight began, and the Dropkick Murphys, another Celtic-inspired punk band, will be performing at the conclusion of this fight. Mark Deluca promoted by Murphy's Boxing. owned by Ken Casey, bass player and vocalist for the Dropkick Murphys. Nice right hand by Walter Wright. I certainly sense Mark Deluca being the faster and crisper of the two fighters in there right now, which he's been an active fighter. Walter Wright, like I said, has had some periods of inactivity. But make no mistake about it, Walter Wright knows what he's doing in there. He did not come to Guilford, New Hampshire from Seattle, Washington to put forth a poor performance, that's for sure. Round two comes to an end. Round three of the scheduled 12-rounder begins. I gave Mark Deluca's round 1 and 2 on my card. I suppose there's an argument that Walter Wright could have taken round 2. It was interesting. As I mentioned, the Irish punk band Flogging Molly performed right before this fight. And as soon as they were done performing their, Irish-inspired rock music, Walter Wright walked to the ring with a rapper. I don't know if Irish punk music transitions well directly into hip-hop. That's all I'll say. Third man in the ring tonight is Steve Smoger. Legendary referee, particularly here on the East Coast. We're a quarter of the way through the action in the scheduled 12-rounders. We enter round 4 between Mark Deluca and Walter Wright. Walter Wright trying to do some work to the body here in round 4. You know, there's really no starch on the punches of Walter Wright throughout the evening from what I've observed so far, but he is trying to be active in spurts, like right now, for example. Good work upstairs by Walter Wright. Noticing Mark Deluca trying to load up on some shots here in round 4. Closing seconds of round number 4. And for the first round in this fight, goes to Walter Wright on my scorecard. Round 5 of the scheduled 12-rounder. Unique environment we're broadcasting from, as we're broadcasting from the stage. And Murphy's Boxing, the promoter of tonight's event. The Dropkick Murphys will be performing as soon as this fight concludes. It's a result of that. There's a lot of activity up here on the stage around us as their crew is gearing up for their performance. But in the ring right now, we've got Mark Deluca and Walter Wright. I have it 3-1 for Mark Deluca, as I gave Deluca rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I gave Deluca round 4. I do think there's an argument that this fight is even going into the 5th round, but I have it 3-1 for Deluca. Round 2 was close. You could even make that argument for round 3, I suppose. Walter Wright doing a good job staying on the outside, playing the matador to the bull of Mark Deluca there for a moment. Round 5 comes to an end. And I think there's an argument to be made that Walter Wright won that round. Round 6 scheduled for 12. Deluca in the white trunks, Walter Wright in the black trunks. Nice right hand by Deluca to begin round 6. Mark Deluca usually fights out of a southpaw stance. I think that Walter Wright has switched up a little bit tonight. You know, I don't think Mark Deluca's finding his way inside in Walter Wright too much tonight. And it's also interesting to see Mark Deluca outside of his stronghold of Massachusetts, where he enjoys rabid support from his many followers. Further north tonight here in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Referee Steve Smoger seemingly wanting both fighters to fight out of the clinch. Not the case, so he breaks them up. The midway point of this fight is over. Well, at the midway point of this fight, it's conceivable this fight could be either way or even dead even. Let's see what both these men do to try to separate themselves from one another in the final 6 rounds of this fight, if this one does go the final 6 rounds. But thus far, it does appear that neither man has been able to hurt the other. I think the closest either came to doing so was Deluca in round 1, knocked Wright backwards for a moment. Since then, they fought at a very measured pace. Nice left hand to the side of the head by Deluca. Deluca still trying to find his rhythm. Even if he's ahead on the scorecards, I don't think he has really quite figured Walter Wright out the way we've seen him figure out a lot of his other opponents rather quickly. Now Deluca energized the crowd, doing some work with Walter Wright's back up against the ropes. Let's set the scene for you here in Guilford, New Hampshire right now. We are underneath a pavilion. There is a roof, but we are outdoors. It's the summertime, but it has been rainy all day and has been intermittently cold and rainy all day. Right now, it is 54 degrees out here in Guilford, New Hampshire. And you can see that the sweat coming off both Mark Deluca and Walter Wright is turning to steam as the perspiration and warmth of their body meets the cold air. Deluca in control this round so far. Nice left hand upstairs by Deluca. Nice left hand upstairs again by Deluca. Well, 2/3 of this fight in the books. Mark Deluca and Walter Two Guns Wright. Nice right hand by Mark Deluca. These big clean shots here and there might be what's separating Deluca from Wright in this fight. There was a point in the middle rounds where it looked like Walter Wright was stealing some rounds. But even at this measured pace, Mark Deluca's finding his mark here and there. And thus far this round, for example, Walter Wright is not. That was a nice left hand upstairs by Wright as round 9 concludes. Round 10 of the scheduled 12-rounder. Mark Deluca has stepped it up to 12 rounders recently. He had his first 12-rounder against Anthony Lenk earlier this year at Plainridge Park Casino. And that was a fight where he looked absolutely scintillating against a solid opponent. Crowd responds to a nice right hand to the body by Mark Deluca. Good work by Mark Deluca closing out the round. Walter Wright trying to come alive here in round 11. Nice left hand by Deluca. 12th and final round between Mark Deluca and Walter Wright. IBA junior middleweight title at stake and the WBA, NABA, America's junior middleweight title as well. My gut tells me that Deluca is ahead in this fight. There were some rounds early on, particularly the middle rounds, that Walter Wright could have stolen, perhaps outright won. But my instinct is that Mark Deluca is ahead right now. If this goes to the judges' scorecards, which every indication we've seen in this fight points to that it will, it'll be interesting to see if Walter Wright had enough moments to steal rounds to make this close. And even though I say I believe that Deluca is ahead, I think he's had a difficult time with the tricky veteran in Walter Wright tonight. Hasn't just run right through him. Hasn't just picked him apart. Deluca with Walter Wright cornered right now, trying to mount some offense. Did so momentarily, but not too much to get the crowd into it. Nice right hand upstairs from Deluca. Closing seconds of this fight. And they trade as the bell sounds. Mark Deluca and Walter Two Guns Wright go all 12 rounds here in Guilford, New Hampshire tonight. We will get the official scorecards from the judges momentarily. Your three judges ringside tonight. Judge Mike Nolan, who has been an active judge in New Hampshire over the years. You have Judge Martha Tremblay, who is a very active judge in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island at the professional level, and a lot in the amateurs. And the third of our three official judges tonight is a woman named Mary Freitas, who quite honestly, none of the boxing people here tonight had heard of before tonight. The commission claims she used to judge shows years ago. She did turn in what I would deem two questionable scorecards in earlier in the night, for what it's worth. She had Karen Doolin over Amanda Pavone, 5 rounds to 1, which no one saw. And she also had Niall Kennedy with the win over Joel Cottle in a fight the other two judges deemed a draw. So let's see how the three judges, Mike Nolan, Mary Freitas, and Martha Tremblay, see this 12-round fight between Mark Deluca and Walter Wright.
Judge Michael Shirley sees it out 116-112 for Deluca. While Judge Mary Freitas sees it out 116-112 for your winner, the 40 brand new IBA World and NBA Junior Middleweight Champion, Walter Two Guns Wright.
So Walter Two Guns Wright with a split decision win over Mark Deluca tonight. Mark Deluca, I mentioned in the fight, never found his rhythm, and that was enough for Deluca to win on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. He's now the WBA NABA Junior Middleweight Champion and the IBA Junior Middleweight Champion, and Mark Deluca suffers his first loss as a professional boxer. Major upset in the main event tonight here in Guilford, New Hampshire. Well, for everyone at Murphy's Boxing, my cameraman Ed Anderson, I'm Peter Zimbor. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.